Hello everyone, this is Stephanie. Welcome to another video. So today we're going to learn cubic right angle weave, and then after we learn how to do the stitch, we're going to make this bracelet. So here's the bracelet. It's a little station bracelet, a multi-strand station bracelet, and we've got the cubic right angle weave pieces here and then some pearls in between. I've got a little magnetic clasp on here which I'll take off. So here it is. That's what it looks like. This magnetic clasp works actually rather well. I like it because the magnetic part, the way it goes together, I mean, it's hard to get it apart, is it, kind of goes on top of each other instead of, just attaching this way. A lot of times when you get a magnetic clasp and it attaches this way, just like one piece to one piece, it's easy to pop off, but this is on top of the bottom, it goes on top. So like it's really secure. So I wore it last night and it seemed to be doing pretty well. So we'll see how that goes. You can always use a different clasp on it. Anyway, here's the bracelet. So let's get a materials list going so we can start learning cubic right angle weave and make this bracelet. All right, so what you're going to need for the tutorial is you're going to need some 3mm fire polish beads, and let me pull out a teeny bit, oops, okay, some 3mm fire polish beads, and I just have a bright blue color here because I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. You really can't do the tutorial with the 11-0 seed beads, but you will turn this piece, this is the cubic right angle weave that we're going to learn, this will turn into this. I guarantee you'll be able to do it, you just have to practice. All right. So you need some 3mm fire polish beads, and you're going to need some Wildfire, Fireline, 6-pound. It doesn't really matter, we're practicing right now. We're just going to learn the stitch, and a size 11 or 10 beading needle. Okay, so that's what you're going to need for the tutorial. Now I'm going to give you the materials for the actual bracelet. All right, so for the bracelet, you're going to need some 11-0 seed beads, and I'm using Miyuki dark nickel silver. You're going to need 7 8mm pearls. You're going to need 20 of these little 6mm daisy spacers, and they are by Tierracast. Very good quality. I got them at my local craft store. You're going to need a clasp, and I was just talking about this magnetic clasp. It's really, I really think it was working out pretty well. So we'll see how it goes. If you don't want to use the magnetic clasp, and it's a 3-ring clasp, and the clasp is half an inch wide. You can always use the tube bar clasp. The 3-ring tube bar clasp. I just like the way this one looked, so I'm hoping that it will stay. Okay, you're going to need some crimp beads. I've got these here. I need 6 of them. So I need those. You'll need some crimp covers, and the crimp covers are going right there. Do you see them in between? Before the crimps are here, and then I've just covered them with these little covers, and it looks pretty. Looks better than a crimp. Sometimes just a crimp hanging out looks fine depending on the piece. I think with this, the covers really make it look very finished. So here they are. And if you want to know where I got these, because I always get questions, where did I get them? This is where I got them. www.bead3.com. Honestly, I don't, I've had them for a while, so I'm not exactly sure about the website, but they came, and they're antique silver. Okay, you're going to need some, again, we'll need the 6-pound or 8-pound Fireline or Wildfire, the size 11 beading needle. You're going to need some SoftFlex beading wire, and this is fine. You'll need 3 pieces, I'd go 12 inches long. The bracelet I'm going to make is going to be approximately 7.5 inches, so if yours is bigger, you want a longer piece. But for 7.5 inches, the 12, 13 inches long is like plenty. it's a lot, but I usually use too much. All right, so you'll need that. You're going to need a wire cutter, flush cutter. You'll need, here's a little, optional, this is a little spring stop bead, for the end of the wire. This is a 8mm, an 8/0 seed bead, just a stop bead. Flat nose pliers. You can use a crimping tool. My crimping tool is I need a new one, so I'm just going to use I'm going to do a flat crimp. It works fine, and the flat crimps, works, is easy to do, and you don't need the tool for it. But if you have the tool, you can always use the tool. All right, so I think that's it. So why don't you gather up your materials, and we'll get started making this. But first, just all we need are the 3mm fire polish and the Wildfire and your beading needle and your little 8/0 stop bead, because we're going to learn the cubic right angle weave first. And then what we're going to do is we're going to, after you learn it, you're going to make these pieces, and I'm going to give you all the lengths of each piece so that they fit nicely, in between each other like that, and you get this nice little, look with the pearls here. So we're not going to do this in 11/0s. We're going to do this in the 3mm, and then I'm going to send you off on your own, and you're going to make these. You can do it. All right, I'll see you in a few. Okay, we're going to get started learning cubic right angle weave. I'm going to leave the bracelet here just to give you incentive when you feel like throwing it across the room because it's frustrating. Okay. So this is what we're going for. This is cubic right angle weave. So it's right angle weave, and it's a cube. You're making a cube. So you have 4 sides and then 2 end sides, right? And we're going to make one cube like that, and then we're going to add cubes on. And once you get the first cube made, it's a breeze. It's just the first one that's a little bit of a pain. So let's just get started and see how it goes. All right? So this is what we're going for. So I thread my needle with just a short piece, so I can stay in frame. And don't make it too long, because you want to be able to be manageable. You're learning now, so you're just practicing. Having a little stop bead on. I'm just going to start with some right angle weave. So pick up 4 of your 3mm beads, okay, and just drop them down to your stop bead. Then come up the first bead next to your stop bead, just like that. We're just doing regular right angle weave. Now, if you want to learn cubic, make sure you know regular right angle weave. And if you've done any of my interlace pieces, this is interlace. We're just doing cubic right angle weave. All the interlace pieces are sort of a variation, just done differently. So if you've done that, you've learned a lot with the interlace pieces, because we made circle, we made tubes, we made we closed pieces off, we made rings. So you've kind of learned a lot with the interlace pieces. If you haven't, you still get it, but if you've done interlace, you're going to be surprised how easy this is. All right, so here's my first right angle weave unit. Now I want you to reinforce it, because it's just going to be easier to keep everything nice and tight so you see what's going on. So come all the way around. Just coming around all the beads. Just like that. And you know what, I think I'll pull in a little bit. All right. So then just add another unit on. So far, just everything you've done before. So add another unit, so pick up 3 beads coming out of here. Come around. Just like that. And then reinforce this unit. Going through just one bead at a time will keep your unit nice and sharp so that you can see the edges easily. That's 2. Add 1 more unit. Coming out of here. Come up through the bottom. Put on another unit and reinforce that one. So we have our 3 units on, and we've reinforced them, coming out of a side bead. So for those of you who are beginners, I'm going to stop it here and let you get to this point, and then we're going to turn it into a cube. All right, see you in a minute. Okay, we're back, and we have our 3-unit flat piece of right angle weave. And so what we want to do now is turn this flat piece into a cube. So to do that, all you're going to do is fold it over. So just fold one end to the other. See that? Like that. So just fold it over. And now you have to put on your last right angle weave unit. So you have 2 beads of that unit. So you need to add 1. So pick up a bead, come down, this one. Pick up another bead, come back up, this one. Just like that. So that's the last unit. So I'm just going to go around and reinforce it. Okay. So now we can look at our cube. All right, we're not done yet, but we can take a look. So see how you have a cube now? So in order to make a cube, all you're doing is taking a flat piece, folding it over, and adding a couple of beads. But now, in order to make this cube nice and secure, we have to attach some beads that aren't attached yet. Okay? So they're attached at the bottom to the other beads, but we need to attach some of these top beads to themselves so that it's nice and secure. All right? So coming out of here, I'm just going to come through this top bead, just like that. And I'm just going to reinforce this top unit. Now, just for those of you who are interested to know, the way you can find out what beads aren't attached to each other, if you can't tell just by looking at them, is that you want to have, at your intersection, 3 roads. Okay, so I have 2 roads right here. Here's my intersection. I want 3 roads. In order for me to get the 3 roads, I just have to go through this entire unit at the top. So I'm going to go through this one. There. So do you see how that makes a 3rd road at the intersection? Okay, and go through this one. Go through this one. Back through this one. So now this top unit is attached. There are 3 roads between in each intersection here. So now you want to find the other right angle weave unit that doesn't have the 3 roads, and that's this one. See? So here I am. I'm coming out of the bottom CB 3mm of this unit. So just like regular right angle weave, to get to the place I want to sew, I'm just going to move my needle through the beads. So I'm coming down that bead. I'm going to I'll come across this one because I want to get to this face here. Okay, and I want to sew these together. So just sew around this unit to get the 3 roads at every intersection. So that's 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then I'm just going to go through the top one to connect all these beads. All right, So there we are. So see how we're all connected? We have 3 rows at every intersection. So here you're coming out of this top bead here. Just rotate your unit towards you. See? Come up this bead. And this is going to set us up for our next, adding on the next cube, which is actually the fun and easy part. So get to this point and then meet me back here and we'll continue. All right, see you in a few. Okay, we're back, and I hope that worked out for you and you had fun playing with that. Okay, so here we are. We're coming out of a side bead here of one of our faces of the right angle weave units here. So here we are. So now we're going to add units on, and this is the fun part. So pick up 3 beads. You're coming out of this top bead here. Just come through the bottom just like that. Let it pull, and see how that adds on one side of the next cube. Now, you just want to rotate the piece towards you. Right, just like that. See? Just like that. Come up the next bead. Just like that. Now you have 2 beads for the next unit, which is going to be the next side of the cube. So you only need 2. Pick up 2 beads, come through this bead, just like that. See how that puts on another unit? Then advance your needle through the next bead. Okay, turn the unit towards you. Come up the next bead, just like that. You have 2 beads. Pick up 2 beads. Come through this bead. And up this bead. Puts on your next unit. Rotate the piece towards you. Advance through the next bead, just like that. And this bead, the top bead. So the side bead and the top bead, because you have 3 beads for the last unit. Come through like that. Pick up 1 bead. Come through here. Just like that. Come through this bead. Come through the top bead. Just like that. Rotate the piece towards you. Just like that. Come up the side bead. So we're always moving forward with this. See? So let's do one more. Okay? Pick up 3 beads. You're coming out of the top of this side bead. Come around. Put on your first unit. Rotate the piece towards you. Advance your needle through the next bead. Now you have 2 beads for your next unit. 1, 2, right there. Pick up 2 beads. Come through here. And up this bead. Now you have the next unit. Rotate the piece towards you and advance your needle up the next bead. So you have 2 beads for your next unit. Pick up 2 beads. Come through this bead. Just like that. Come up this bead. Rotate the piece towards you. Now again, you have the 3 beads for your last unit. 1, 2, 3. Come through this bead. Come through the top bead. pick up a bead, come through this bead, come up this bead, come through the top bead, rotate your unit towards you, and come up the side bead. That's it. That's it. That part's fun, isn't it? So there's your cubic right angle weave. So that's easy enough, don't you think? All right, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna practice using your 3mm fire polish beads, and then to get from this to this, I would, if you're really new at this, I would go down to 8/0 seed beads. And just so you can see it really well with the 8/0 seed beads. So go down to 8/0s, make yourself, you know, a little rope unit, and then you can try it with 11/0s. It's hard to go from this to this, but you can do it. You just need to really practice. If you can do it under a magnifying light, that works even better. But you will get it. Maybe even if you don't want to, if you really want to, don't get frustrated. If you don't want to get frustrated, maybe use some light-colored matte beads so that the shine doesn't get you, anything to help you get it, but you will get it. And what we're going to do is in the next segment, I'm going to give you measurements of each piece, because these are all separate pieces, you see, so they're like almost like beaded beads, I guess. It's and then we put them on a wire. So I'm going to give you measurements for each section, and then you're going to go ahead and you're going to make all your sections, and then we're going to assemble the bracelet. All right, so have fun. I hope that was helpful. I hope it was, you know, it was a good tutorial for you, and I'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, we're back, and I'm going to give you some measurements now. So here's, I've made most of the bracelet, so I'm going to give you measurements on the pieces here. So it's 3 strands, obviously, and if you notice, my last strand is a little bit longer than the center strand. It works out fine. That way, it's not a problem. I just, you know, it just came out a little bit longer, so I made the other one. You know, so they're all, you know, they're as close as I could get them, and I think it works out fine. So if you can get them closer than that, I say go for it. So I'm going to give you some measurements, approximate measurements, and then you're going to play with them a little bit. So we're going to make these strands out of our cubic right angle weave, little, you know, beaded bead, rope pieces, whatever you want to call them. So for the 2 outer strands, you're going to need 4 pieces that are 2.5 inches long, and 2 pieces, 1, 2, that are 1.5 inches long. For the center strand, you need 2 1-inch pieces and 2 1 5/8 inch pieces. Now this is, you know, if you're not going to be able to get it super perfect, but just get it as close as you can. And what you want to do is you want to make your, let's say you make your piece, you want to make sure you leave a tail at either end, so that when you put it together, you might have to add another, you know, round on or take one off. You know, I might have to play with it a little bit. This is for a 7.5 inch bracelet, remember. Now, after you make these pieces and you're satisfied, you kind of lay them all next to each other and you're satisfied, you want to reinforce the ends. Okay, so go around your beads at the end here. You can even put a little 15/0 in between each one of these if you want to end it off really nicely. But you don't have to. It's just something I thought about. But anyway, just reinforce the end, all right, so that your pieces are nice and ended nicely. And remember, the pearl and the spacers are going to take some space here. So you want to make sure, you know, have your pieces cut, and make sure, you know, your wire pieces cut, and make sure you string everything on and put them all next to each other, and then you can tell whether or not you need to add or take away a few beads here and there. Now, if you want to make it longer than 7.5 inches, rather than recalculate all this stuff in the middle, just make your ends a little bit longer. That will work out fine. This portion is sort of centered so that you can, you know, it's 7.5, so if you're 8, 8.5, you're not really adding that much on. So add this way if you want to make your bracelet longer. And that way this will all be nice and centered, okay? So go to work, get your strands done, and then meet me back here and I'll show you how to put the strand together and attach the clasp. All right, see you in a few. We're back, and let's attach the strand to the wire and then to the clasp. All right, so here I've strung on my wire. Here's the sequence. So we have a crimp, a spacer, your 2.5-inch piece. If I'm doing the last, the 2 outside pieces, or the last outside piece. So the 2.5-inch piece of CRAW, spacer, pearl, spacer, 1.5-inch piece of CRAW, spacer, pearl, spacer, 2.5-inch piece of cubic right angle weave, spacer, and a crimp bead. And then we're going to put the covers on after. So I'll leave that for a second. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my one end of my clasp and I'm going to put my wire through, just like this. Let me situate it so it's easier to see. Okay, I'm going to put my wire through. My end is getting caught. All right, so make sure your crimp bead is next to your spacer. All right, I'm just going to clip my wire off a little bit. Oops, my clippers. Mine's a little long. All right. I'm going to come around the loop on my clasp, through the crimp bead, and through the daisy spacer. I'd like to get through the bead too. And we'll get, or the piece of CRAW, we'll get there. Okay, so here, this is what it looks like. And here I'll pull in a little bit for this. And then I'm just going to pull. And I don't want to rack this out. You don't want this to be overly tight, like that's a little tight. When you do the other side, you'll leave a little play in it. Because it's better if there's a little bit of space, like you can see I have a little bit of space there, than being too tight, all right? So with this first one, you don't have to worry about it because you can always adjust it at the other end. So here, I've pulled this down, just like that, all right? And I'm going to flatten my crimp. Now you can use your crimp tool. I just want to get my loop smaller. There we go. You can use your crimp tool. I'm going to use my flat nose. Just kind of like that. Okay. All right, so I flatten my crimp. I'm going to try to get this little piece through the beads. Now it should pop through one of them. Just make sure it pops through something. Maybe you can even get it all the way down to the pearls. I feel something coming through. There we go. All right, so that popped through. And you want to clip this off, just make sure when you clip it off that you clip it off, you don't clip your thread. That would be awful. All right, so that's done. All right, and then let's put the crimp cover on because they really look nice. So here's the little crimp cover. So I'm just going to place it over my crimp. And it might be easier to get on if you use a crimp tool, but it worked out okay with this. So I just put it on like so. See how it's covering right there? And then very carefully use your flat nose to tighten it down. I think Beadalon makes a tool for this, but I don't think you need it. I'm just, just you can use your flat nose. And just make sure you don't, press too hard and rack it out. Takes a little practice. You might go through a few crimp covers, like this one's a little bit wonky. So I'm just going to play with it a little bit until I kind of flatten it out a little bit. All right, that looks pretty good. All right, so here you go. You have one end on, just like that. Now, before you do the other end, remove your stop bead and just make sure that you have a little play in it. You don't want to bunch these up, so straighten them out. Because if you do it too tight and it bunches up, it's not gonna It's not going to look pretty. You want them nice and straight. So do that, and then just add your end on to the to this last loop of the clasp. Okay, and make sure when you put your clasp on that you have them facing in the right direction. That's always that's important. All right, so finish that last one, and then meet me back here, and we'll take a look at our bracelet. All right, see you in a few. Okay, we're back, and I hope you had fun with this tutorial and the bracelet video. I hope that you'll make this and have lots of fun making it. It really is, once you get it, it's really fun to do and very versatile. And here's our little 3mm piece. Here's our bracelet. And I want to thank you again for joining me, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.